In March 2003, the Felbermayr Group, Austria's leading specialist in heavy loads, receives the order from Siemens AG Power Generation to transport 2 complete power plant units to Arrubal, La Rioja in Spain for the Grupo Gas Natural GUD power plant. Spain is no unknown territory to Felbermayr. In 1998, a Siemens AG KWU generator casing weighing 420 tons was transported via water, road and rail from Mülheim-Ruhr to the Spanish power plant in Trillo and back for Central Nuclear de Trillo, Madrid, a customer of Siemens. This transport was carried out using a 32-axle combination for the first time in Spain, and at a total weight of 690 tons, it was also the heaviest rail transport ever on the Iberian Peninsula. Transport logistics for the new Siemens order are set to go beyond all previous dimensions. International specialists doubt that the project will be completed successfully. Felbermayr, however, meets this enormous challenge, and between September 2003 and March 2004 successfully completes an oversized transportation of unprecedented size. The project's total scope of delivery amounts to approximately 20,000 tons of freight. Of these, normal trucks transport approximately 200 loads. About 150 oversized loads are moved directly to Spain via Central European roads by Felbermayr's 100% subsidiary Bautrans Lauterach. More oversized parts are moved in 3 shipments via Rotterdam and Indonesia to Bilbao Santurce, and from there they are driven by trucks to Arrubal. The 6 main components consist of 2 transformers, each weighing 240 tons, 2 gas turbines of 310 tons each, and 2 generators of 345 tons each. This multi-mode logistics chain begins with the transportation of the power plant components from the Siemens delivery works in Berlin, in Mülheim-Ruhr and Nuremberg via the inland waterways to Rotterdam. Here the energy giants are loaded using the company's own shiploading gear onto high seas ships and shipped from the port of Rotterdam to Tarragona on the east coast of Spain. The destination of the transports, the GUD power plant Arrubal, is situated approximately 460 kilometers from Tarragona in the world-famous vine-growing district La Rioja, close to Logroño. Due to the gigantic dimensions of the components, road transport seems hardly feasible. In January 2003, a feasible plan is worked out together with the Spanish railway Renfe to move the transportation from road to rail. Due to interstructural circumstances, only Tarragona was to be considered as entry port and railway departure. Because of the infrastructure situation and the enormous weight of the individual parts, up to 345 tons, Felbermayr had to use its own special 32-axle heavy-duty cars, since there are only machines with up to 24 axles available in Spain. These special Felbermayr wagons are only designed for the European standard gauge. To complete the 6 railway transports on schedule, the bogies and their wheel sets had to be newly constructed for the 32-axle heavy-duty car and built to match the 233mm wider Iberian broad gauge. To ensure the best possible protection of the rail and railway infrastructure, the rail equipment was dimensioned for the smallest possible load per axle and on overall dimensions and weights. The only way to make this transportation feasible is by completely minimizing the overall dimensions. Special loading frameworks have to be built for generators and turbines. The 32-axle heavy-duty car used for this transportation is a lightweight construction and reduces the weight of the wagon and loading frameworks by 50 tons to 263 tons. The transportation of both transformers is carried out by a second, unmodified 32-axle heavy-duty car with longitudinal beams. Extensive constructional and traffic regulating measures must be taken to realize such transportation by rail. Several bridges have to be reinforced, depending on their strength. Often catenaries, signals, pylons and lighting appliances have to be dismantled and re-erected along the railway route. The greatest challenge this transportation faces is presented by the two gigantic gas turbines, weighing 310 tons each and their dimensions of almost 11 meters in length and approximately 5 meters in height and width. So begins an unequaled transportation project that is more of an adventure, virtually reaching the absolute limit of what is possible. Felbermayr, France, right on the border of Spain. Up to here, the second Felbermayr heavy-duty car transporting the transformer has been driven in close coupling state on the European standard gauge. The new bogies are being transported separately on railway carriages. At the border station is a facility to change over the axle gauge available. The heavy-duty cars are lifted with a hydraulic lifter. The standard gauge bogies are moved aside and replaced by the new bogies with the Iberian gauge. This procedure takes approximately 8 hours per wagon. The port of Tarragona, south of Barcelona. Here, the 6 power plant components are being loaded from the high seas ships onto the Felbermayr special wagons. Unloading the energy giants of up to 345 tons with the ship cranes alone turns out to be very difficult. The gigantic loads have to be counterbalanced with enough ballast not to capsize the ships. All cargo movements have to be carried out with utmost care and by the smallest steps in order to keep the ship from rocking. The two 240-ton transformers can be unloaded directly at the quay onto the unmodified heavy-duty car, equipped with longitudinal beams. Due to the tight schedule, the generators and gas turbines cannot be transferred directly to rail. In the port of Tarragona, a special fixed station lift construction has to be mounted, so that the assembly of the carry frameworks and the transfer of the cargo onto the heavy-duty cars can be realized. The energy giants are unloaded onto automobile heavy load trailers and driven up to approximately 500 meters under the lifting construction. After being lifted up, these components are put onto the substructure of the supporting frameworks and are shifted via a hydraulic side tracking skate to the railway track area. Already over the railway track, the upper part of the loading framework is assembled with the vertical and horizontal carrier modules and the coupling of both 16-axle wagon halves. The total transport combination, consisting of heavy-duty car and gas turbine, puts a weight of 557 tons upon the railway tracks. The length of special wagons adds up to around 65 meters, of which 40 meters are rigid length. With these dimensions, unparalleled in railroad shipping, the team is confronted with a distance of about 460 kilometers with criteria that can only be mastered at their very limits. Now we accompany one of the two largest components, the gas turbine 10, almost 11 meters long, 5 meters wide and 4.86 meters high, on its most difficult transport by rail from Tarragona to Arrubal, which takes 29 days, including downtime. Saturday, 8th of November 2003, 2100 hours. The goods station in Tarragona. The diesel engines of the heavy Renfe locomotive are throbbing. Alberto, our experienced locomotive driver, climbs up into his driver's cab. The whole team is ready for the railway adventure. Just a few kilometers outside Tarragona, the train formation reaches its first critical point of the route, Punto Bomberos, a tunnel-like underpass. Despite shifting the heavy-duty car as far to the side as possible and partially countersinking the tunnel, there is still too little space to pass through with the heavy load. Just before the train formation arrives, a railway construction machine moves the railway track 400 millimeters towards the middle to facilitate the passage of the gigantic transport framework, which only passes by millimeters. With the transport framework through, the railway tracks have to be restored immediately. The railway line goes in several stages via Lerida and Zaragoza through the Ebro Delta and La Rioja to Arrubal. After mastering one stage, the train formation is parked until the next start at the respective stage station. Despite several months of preparation, before each difficult line section, the Felbermayr team and the Renfe authorities conduct inspections of the line immediately before transport to gain an overview of the current situation. The main objects of these inspections are railway poles, signal posts, platforms at railway stations and walls that are closely situated to the railway tracks, and of course bridges and tunnels. While passing through Lerida, the modern Felbermayr heavy-duty car with hydraulic cross-sliding and lift-lower function demonstrates its full capacity for the first time. When driving past close poles, the gigantic load is shifted sideways. At platform borders, it is lifted upwards. Shortly after Lerida, the GT10 transport team is faced with one of the most critical points of the line, the Punto Critico, an approximately 2-kilometer long tunnel whose cross-section is almost tangential to the huge dimensions of the transport. Entering the area leading up to the tunnel is still easy, but then the tracks divide into two separate tunnel tubes, which leave only a few millimeters of space for the huge train formation to pass through. Many people doubt that this critical point will be passed successfully. The Felbermayr team specialists face the challenge. So starts a nerve-wracking struggle of man and machine for those few available millimeters. The whole team is under enormous stress. Via radio, an interpreter keeps the direct contact between wagon operator, traffic controller and locomotive driver, so that he can adjust the speed at any time to suit the current situation.